Hello, Robs. Let's wrap this book up, bruv. I think we only have 3 chapters. Maybe we can't finish today. We'll see, Robs. More, chapter 21. More than all else. Never mind that I have my little heater on, despite the fact that it's 60 degrees out, because I turned the heat off. Anyway, more than all else. When you come here, more than all... Well, I gotta read in regular voice. When you come here, more than all else, it is important that you should not be a further burden on us who are already breaking under the strain of what you would have done to this plane through waging the world war. You have failed on your plane. And if you have any self-respect... Oh no, we're going to the landscape again? I gotta turn this off. You have failed on your plane, and if you have any self-respect, you will try at least to make what little amends you can by not adding to the despair of those who are striving to help the victims of your stupidity. I am not using very polite terms, for I know that you will not give heed to anything that is not forced on your attention. I am aware how little thought is given to those who have passed out of earth life. You like to believe that they are with God, or else that they are nothing. Your poets make sweet, soothing verses about the body's elements fertilizing the soil and springing up in the form of lovely flowers, etc., etc. All that is sentimental nonsense. Their souls and etheric bodies are alive, and their memory of earth life is keener than it ever was while they were in their bodies of flesh. They are with God, of course, as they always were and always will be. But they are also still men and must still live with men and be the victims or beneficiaries of man's action. All depends on whether divine laws are kept or broken. We here are so amazed at the utter ignorance and fatuity. What is fatuity? Of the average man that we see that only a very heavy thrust at his complacence and smugness will ever attract his attention. I give you the facts, you can ignore them, but if you do, the penalty will be something you will be terrified to face. Be sure I am not saying anything that has not been said before. You bury these revelations in your libraries, and you refuse to face yourself and your future. If such a course were pursued in mortal life, you would still be in the Stone Age. When you have the courage to face your future and deal with it as practically and sanely as you do your everyday affairs, you will then create a new heaven and a new earth. The young souls are looking upon you of middle age with horror. They know your egotism, your empty phrases about providence, and they despise you for the history you have made. They look toward a future that is terrifying in its threat of another great war, a chemical war wherein cities and whole populations with all the works of man's mind are to be destroyed. Here and there, groups of young souls protest that they have sworn to refuse to don uniforms and commit the crimes you are contemplating. You pay no attention to them. Youth is now very cheap. You have no place for youth in your scheme of things. You educate it and turn it adrift. The growing profession of outlawry is your answer. No failure was ever so great as that of our own people of the late 19th and 20th centuries. Up to now, your egotism and vanity led you into an adventure that was against every principle of your form of government. The result is chaos. All faith in our representatives is gone. The empty speeches in the halls of Congress and the state houses only excite contempt. A few honest men try to make their protest heard, but they are shouted down. Mediocrity, mediocrity, and ever more mediocrity is the rule. The masses are ready as always to spring to action and slaughter all who have been above them in power and wealth. The man who has striven to make an honest and decent living as an independent citizen and businessman is ground between the demagogue at the top and the dregs at the bottom. As in olden times, the powers at the top are afraid and will try to unite all factions by fear. They would, if they could afford it, welcome more slaughter. Then they could clamp down and stop every movement but war making. Fortunately for youth, the last war is still to be paid for. The people are groaning under taxation, and no money would be forthcoming to go up in smoke and in organized murder of the young. We here have no illusions as to the poor quality of mind that prevails in the councils of state. All is opportunism and self-advertising, empty theories and mad schemes to rob the people of the little they have left. But one thing can save the situation: the knowledge of what such dissipation of energy leads to. The answer to it is all here. You have either got to live as if you were going to commit national suicide, or soberly begin to construct life in a way that will make both planes livable in progressive phases of our evolution. Self-defense against a robber nation may be needed, but one can only believe that, situated as we are, no race on either side of the world would dare attack us. We are able to provide defense, and with that, no one may quarrel. But for self-defense only should we maintain our army and navy. Our air force could be made almost sufficient to repel attack. The main thing needed is that we should rebuild our national character. We should win back our self-respect. We must first know what we are and where we are headed before we can take any wise action. Other countries hearing the same truths would also come to a saner point of view, and world peace would not be a hopeless dream. Chapter 22. There shall be peace. We who are still in the etheric plane are at the worst period in all human history. We have never before, since time began, had millions of souls thrust into this plane without any preparation to receive them. War, as you now wage it, has meant all but annihilation for us. Annihilation, that is, of peace, progress, sane living, and organized society. Do not think that because we live in a different body from yours, we are not capable of constructing ordered and enlightened government here. We have no politics, but we are sensible of the divine plan of progress, and we try to make an environment that will contribute to the well-being and happiness of all. This can only be done by placing our best minds in the highest grades of public service. We are masters of etheric science, and of the mental powers of man. These powers we can use for the benefit of the whole body. You who have tried to achieve power by force have simply disorganized their plane by killing millions of bodies that should be alive today and inhabited by souls that are now here before their time. We hope to make this plane a better place for study than Earth. All this has been undone because you have slaughtered a generation of men. You are planning, you who are makers of war, a still greater horror, a war of extermination. This is against all natural law. You are defying God, and you are destroying the chance for man to make of life a steady forward advance. You are never to be what you could be, because you will destroy the works of the mind of man. Art, science, and all knowledge will perish with the destruction of cities and the war of extermination you are planning. Here we are considering a countermove. We insist upon the right of peace on earth and a chance for the human spirit to advance. We are unwilling to look on and allow you to make your diabolical plans an accomplishment. We can do things to you human beings that will shake the strongest will. Not that they would do you any bodily harm. They would only destroy your nervous system and make you as afraid of us as we are of your brutality. How are they going to destroy their nervous system? We can let all the earthbound souls loose. Do you know what that means? The lowest people on this plane are like the lowest on yours. They are also in the great majority here, as many of them have been here for centuries. Unable to reincarnate because they are moronic and cannot sufficiently grasp the ideas needed to fit themselves to incarnate. These millions upon millions of earthbound elemental souls are lower than your dumb animals. They are capable of tormenting mortals by all sorts of tricks and stunts that are known by the name of hauntings. You are not so silly as to wish to amuse yourselves by living in a haunted house. Such a home is usually a place where spirits amuse themselves in various ways by opening and shutting doors. It will take the concentration of 100 or more of these weak minds to accomplish that, but they enjoy doing it. By drafts of cold air passing over you, pictures thrown from the walls, sounds of rattling dishes, sudden terrors that may be induced by one who is able to appear, one who, with help from others, will manifest a figure that is like nothing you ever saw. These things are all possible and will shake strong nerves. We keep these low spirits in check here by our own stronger mental powers. We have our police. That is, guardians of the peace of the world, whose steady prayers and thoughts for peace and harmony on earth are too strong for the mass of low mentalities to break through, except in rare instances. If we ever decide to use this last weapon to shake you out of your war madness, we have only to relax our minds and give these hordes the word to amuse themselves at your expense. You are too ignorant to know that each could protect himself by high thoughts and prayers. Your fear would paralyze your will. I should hesitate to even speak of this, but for the fact that we are aware of the worst horrors and disasters you are devising for the next war, we will not permit you to carry them out. You did. You are too ignorant, too godless to be able to cope with our plan. Our desire is to use all man's powers for human betterment and the spiritual advancement of the race. You shall not bring a dark age upon us. That we will not submit to. You who read these lines are so far advanced as at least to interest yourself in our plan. Your own life after death and your prospect of reincarnation in a world fit to live in. Hence, you must take what action you can to spread abroad the knowledge we give you here. You are now responsible. How many pages are left? Might be able to get through them in 17 minutes, but I doubt it. Chapter 23. You are not to wait. You must take my word for what is here set down, or else test me. I beg that you do. Prove me. How? By making a test through the one whose hand is transcribing these words, or I will appoint some other medium. I shall be able to give you ample proof of my identity and that of others on this plane. The great proof will come when you get your radio engineers and experts to work with a medium. Not any medium, but one we have tested and can work through. Our medium for the writing of this book makes her living by means of the theater and taking pictures. She is not trying to make the sales of this book a part of her income. She is simply doing her part as an American and a member of society in the hope of helping to prevent another war. I mention this as the average person imputes the lowest motives to anyone who is engaged in any idealistic effort. She does not make her living by publicity of this sort, as most people who are known to possess her psychic equipment are apt to excite ridicule. She knows this, and so I am doubly grateful to her for the risk she has taken. It is now up to you to follow up the work I have done through her. If you wait until another war breaks out, you will be guilty. We are working to prevent that calamity. You should at once approach those in places of power and influence with this book. Europe still thinks war and is ready for war. Also, in spite of what has been such recent history and in spite of the protestations of Americans, Europe counts on us to take part in the war she is expecting. There is no escape once the conflagration starts. The government will stifle private opinion, and Washington will again be the battleground. Between two forces, you will have nothing to say then. Now is your time. You can do much if you bestir yourself. You can speak to your friends of what I say here. You can lend this book. You can send copies to the heads of schools and churches. You can enlist the help of the women's organizations. They are our best hope. Women are for the race, never against it. You can hold gatherings in your home to discuss this book and its predecessor. Open the door. Read that. You can contribute to any physical society that is on a high level and bring this book to its attention. You can live as though you look these truths to heart. You can make life progressive for yourself and all to whom you spread this knowledge. You can be of infinite help to the young souls who are in danger of being slaughtered in another war. You are now a channel for the highest good to yourself and your fellow men. You are now informed of the greatest of all truths, the facts of life on the next plane. You are now able to live and die intelligently. You are able to loose the mightiest force in the world, truth. You can be of such help to your fellow man that you will be blessed on earth and here. You can save souls from the negative belief in the futility of life. You can make of yourself a constructive force for all to whom you give this knowledge. Is not this work for a man? What do you know that is 1,000 part as important? We here are waiting to see how you take this knowledge. Will you use it, or will you, with that faint, cynical smile that has come to be part of the stock and trade of the average American, dismiss the whole thing as bunk? You are on trial, not we. We are ready to serve to the last ounce of our strength, but you and your kind have created such a condition on this plane that we shall hold you responsible if you repeat this crime. This is the only way to prevent it. You will pay bitterly when you come here if you let another reign of human slaughter loose on the world. Free speech and a free press are yours now. Once the war machine is oiled, you will not be permitted to speak. Even your priests and ministers will not dare, in the name of their churchly vows, to stand against the organization of wholesale murder. Now is your chance. Will you play a man's part, or will you call this just a book? How else can we reach you? This is my chance. Chapter 24. You are to take the heading of this chapter to your innermost self. This is your chance. What have you done in your present incarnation to help the race of your fellow men? If you are a youth, this is probably your first chance. If you are old or in middle life, you may find it profitable to ask yourself, what part did I play in the world war? You did not keep it from happening, certainly. You were part of the machinery used to wage that war. Possibly you only bought the bonds issued to pay for the carnage. Perhaps you merely contributed your services as a speaker or a salesman of those bonds. Perhaps you gave your talents to creating amusement for the soldiers. Perhaps you gave a son. You may even have made money out of the war. You played some part in it if you are an American citizen. Well, I shall not discuss the justice or injustice of that war, except from the standpoint of the victims here, the slaughtered soldiers. Take off your hat and bow your head in a minute's silence on Armistice Day. What does that do? It simply gives you an emotional stir as a tender-hearted man who remembers the fallen youth. You are not aware that those boys, those few who are sane enough to see and understand the performance, are bitterly watching you and wondering what good that gesture does. They're not impressed. They know that you will probably stand supinely by while another war, worse even than that, the one they knew, is waged. And that your own skin being safe, your interest is purely academic unless you have sons who will be among the battalions of death. You have no excuse now for standing idly by. You may say that you do not believe that what I have written is true. Prove me wrong, then. Make it your business to go to the nearest psychical society of standing and ask for a very intelligent medium. Find out what happens when the dead die. The most ignorant man is the one who refuses to sift the statements that are put before him. I have not hesitated to impale you because you represent the America that was the hope of the world. Now our country stands as a monument to stupid greed and a spiritual darkness that is all but an eclipse. You have a chance now to redeem yourself. I do not mean that you have consciously been so far astray, but you have followed the herd. If you are an intelligent man, you knew all along how vile a thing war was. If you are above the average, now is your chance to prove it. In peacetime, all can work with heart and mind, voice and hand, yes, and purse, for a sane and constructive age to be ushered in. You have been told in these chapters that what will happen in the next great war. You already knew it from your newspapers and magazines, but you did not know that your own life after death will be one of sharing the frightful hell of the fallen soldier. You will be with a race of madmen. We here now spend our time and strength with them in the effort to calm and heal the spirits and broken minds of those poor young victims. We are masters of the science of the ether, and when exhausted and sick with the misery and pity of it, we can raise our vibration and be rid of the horror for a time. You will not be able to do this. There are too few of us now for our work. What will it be when you add millions on millions more to the etheric lunatic asylum? If you have a grain of common sense, if you have the least spark of intelligence, you will organize against war. We are not concerned with the poverty another war will bring upon you, though that might move you to act. Oh no. We are trying to save the world. 10,000 men, the White Brotherhood, against your materialistic world. We have perhaps not more than 100 mediums who are capable of taking our thoughts. The one who records mine happens to be a very highly vibrated being. My vibration is not too powerful for her. The average medium would not or could not stand the pressure of my vibration on the head gland that is the connection. On the basis of pure reason, you cannot turn aside from the chance we offer you to help us. What can you lose? Nothing. We are now living in an age when a man's business need not suffer for his ideas, at least in peacetime. Come into the movement for world peace. Make your contribution now. Yeah, I don't think I could finish this today. I don't think I can finish it. Pretty sure I can. I'm just going to wait because it'll be pointless to do a 5-minute one tomorrow. Cheerio, bravs. We'll be back with Most Blessed, chapter 25 tomorrow. Goodbye.